I've titled this video a review, but as far as my reviewing skills could go, I can't call Cloudpunk a game in its traditional meaning. It is a little masterpiece, it is a tiny piece of an art. It succeeded where the most modern big studios with million budgets failed. It gave me emotions and showed me a pure life. A simple, fragile moments of a casual person like me or any of you.
All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain.
Yes, this game has a lot of direct and not so references from Blade Runner. Not just familiar visual motifs or atmosphere, but even a world itself. So if you want to get a full experience from this game, I hardly recommend you to watch the film. The first one, it's more about the original movie. It has a specific style and mood, although Cloudpunk took the messages from the first film and modernized it with advanced technology. The way how do we see things in 21st century, with social media, corporate bigotry and all this stuff. When was the last time you've read a newspaper? So in terms of the world, Cloudpunk feels like the first Blade Runner with technologies from the sequel. Quite an interesting combination, I should say. When I started playing this game, it also reminded me of another timeless classic, The Fifth Element. As you can see, there are a lot of references to other films, but it doesn't mean that Cloudpunk simply copied other universes or stories. Nevales, the city where the game events placed in, is a completely unique, self-dependent world with its own rules and characters. The premise of the game is very simple. We have only two main gameplay mechanics: driving and exploring on foot. That's it. We play as Rania, a migrant from so-called Eastern Peninsula. She's running from the Debt Corps, which is a self-explanatory organization. They hunt people that own money. They won't stop until their debt is paid or the debtor is dead, so they could sell their organs. In the world of Cloudpunk, our planet is polluted, so Nevales is built above the ocean. In this universe, which we're heading to, the main ruling force is corporations. Their main goal is obviously to secure their incomes. That's why we have corporate-themed organizations: CorpSec, police, debt corps, and so on. At the same time, the narrative not pushes you the agenda that rich are bad or capitalism sucks. It not feels like a communist manifesto. Cloudpunk shows you a system and its problems. How do characters operate in it? In a lot of ways. Ironic dialogues, sarcastic jokes, simple storylines, but it's up to you to decide whenever it's a good thing or not. This city could be both hated or loved. There will be plenty choices to make and they're up to you. As for the gaming process itself, half of the time you're gonna be driving, the other half obviously walking. We have open world, you're free to go almost whenever you want, except for a few timer missions. The closest similar gameplay concept I could think of is GTA, but only with taxi missions. Most of them are typical take something at the point A, then deliver the package to the point B, with not those typical dialogues that makes these missions special. I'll talk about this a bit later. This game is more immersive than you can imagine. We have a limited fuel and vehicle integrity, so occasionally we need to stop for a refuel and a repair. The car won't just fix it on its own, we need to fly to a station, pay and wait. Same with the traffic and driving. It feels more simulatorish rather than a simple arcade. Your vehicle has a weight, inertia, and we could bump in other cars. We also need to park manually. Besides direct immersive gameplay mechanics, we have things that work for atmosphere. For example, in the cockpit, transmission lever moving accordingly, so as windshield wipers. On the floor we have a glass to see where we are parking. All these tiny details create an incredible feeling that this is you who sits in a cabin and flying around dystopian cyberpunk city. And back to Blade Runner again. I've already showed you a few references, but I can't stop thinking about this atmosphere. Besides the fact that there are a ton of details straight from the film, like hieroglyphs on signs, same flame plants in the slums like the ones in Los Angeles, there are a lot of new stuff. More neon, cyberpunk implants, androids, other thematical stuff. It is incredibly appealing, not because the game, and I'm not exaggerating, setting is beautiful but even real somehow. Cubicle stylized graphics has its own charm, and I've seen opinions, even players that do not usually like such stylization adore it in Cloudpunk. It's that good. A lot of times I've caught myself standing still and watching all this beauty, or slowly flying around observing the city from a car window, or how they call it in game, a hover. Cloudpunk is not only science fiction cyberpunk, but also a game that has all the features of a noir. It's always raining in this town, it has a proper depressive mood, and we even got a classical detective from 30s in a coat, which is a bit broken and talks like he really from that time.
But if there was a way to build a better future for those two, I'd make it out of hopes and dreams and hard graft. I'd have to be smart though. This was a high-stakes game, and if I rolled the dice, I'd have to know in advance I was gonna come up lucky sevens.
I can fly around the city for hours, but visual part is only one side of the coin, because we also have a sound design. Niveles really has its unique sounding, from cars and announcements to ambient, raindrops and of course music. It is fine, but not as memorable as soundtracks from Blade Runner. Tracks are just not catchy, but let's imagine what the game would have been if it had these famous tracks. As you've already noticed, we could play both with first or third person camera, although if you play with third person, sound design feels emptier, hollow, some of the sound effects are gone, so I advise you to fly in a car with first person camera. Also would like to point out that the game more comfortable with keyboard and mouse. Half of Cloudpunk I played in this way, another one with a gamepad. I don't like default controls, for example by default we have fixed camera and you increase or decrease altitude with the right stick. If you unlock camera, it's a bit strange to control camera and altitude in the same time. Just don't forget to adjust this moment before you play. Out of car gameplay is even simpler, just walk around, pick collectibles and talk with people. Nothing extraordinary. Our typical mission will look something like this. Our dispatch calls us, we will listen to a dialogue, pick a package or a customer, then drive to the point B. After completion we will receive money, which we can spend on the upgrades for a car or customize our apartment or buy shoes, for example. At first it seems like this is an incredible boring and tedious process, but as I've mentioned, it's all about the stories. Real, humane stories. First hour or two feels strange, like you're an outsider, and that's the point. Ranya's persona, the main character of this game, basically is built around this premise. It feels like this is you who came from foreign lands into the city to earn some money and start a new life. After only a few hours in the game, you're gonna be soaked in this city, in its rules. All will be starting to make sense now. Every dialogue line will seem logical. Moreover, there are a lot of interesting events or situations. For example, Rania has a dog, Camus, that, has no body. She transferred his identity on a disk and then put in a car computer. Their interactions are phenomenal. They talk about life, philosophy, human nature, robots, identity crisis. Camus is as naive as adorable. Once he will even rap, another we will pick an outfit for our client's date, or we will meet android gangers that build playgrounds because corporations forbidden to do this. And there are so much more. Almost forgot to mention voice acting. The voice acting. To be fair, at first characters sounded a bit strange, too perfect, with no interference. Like, you know, in films, lines in action scenes sounded after. Sometimes you could really tell how perfect and emotionless actors sound. There is no synchronization with what is happening on the screen and the perfectly pronounced lines. It is breaking the illusion. Same thing here.
I wanted to ask a question.
What is it?
What happened to Mom?
You've been offline for a while, Camus. Mom isn't around anymore. Do you really want to know what happened?
Will it make me sad?
Yes.
At first I've noticed how everything sounded strange, but after a few hours I've started to appreciate how actors did their job. After the game completion, there is not even a single question from me to the actors. Every damn character sounded incredible, alive. Well, except Pashta. But it's probably not the actress's fault, her voice just pitched too high.
Did you get fired? Will you keep working for Cloudpunk?
Pashta, I'm so tired I can't even think. Give me a break.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The other thing is that if character is being interrupted, there is a too long pause between the lines. Back to the story. I can't retell all these incredible situations or dialogues written by Thomas Welsh. I can't for two reasons. The first one is that I don't want to spoil them for anyone. I really want people to experience this like I did. It was genuinely a very special experience. In game I crave for funny moments, some attachment to characters or locations, something like it was in Mass Effect, or side quests and dialogues in Dragon Age, Neverwinter Nights. Big studios sometimes really can deliver such things, but Cloudpunk built around this experience. Instead of a few cool quests, I've received an amazing novel in the form of a game. If in Eastwards review I've stated that the game story is empty and it is only visually appealing, so here we have both incredible art style and captivating story. Character development is fluid. Plot has interesting turns and decisions for a player. So here comes the reason to why I can't spoil it for you. Person that haven't played Cloudpunk will not understand examples of dialogues or world's logic. You need to play it to understand. I have only two complaints about the story, and both of them are about the DLC, City of Ghosts. First one is that sometimes we switch between different characters, and this idea is played too rough. These switches should have been way more fluid, organic. In reality, you will play as Hayes for 15 minutes, then as Rania for most of the game, as Camus the dog twice for 5 minutes, and when the story will reach its climax, they will break the pace to get back to slower paced storytelling with Hayes, and finally again with Rania. It could have been done a bit better with more involvement, I guess. These transitions are too rough for my liking. The other complaint is about the endings, which are on the contrary feels a bit rushed. Not a big deal to be honest, story still feels complete and well written. So what we've got in the end? Appealing visuals, check. Incredible atmospheres that you are almost could feel, check. Sound design which makes city alive, check. Incredible voice acting that got under my skin, check. Music, not so check, just fine. Story and all about it, characters, dialogues, jokes, etc. especially check. Gameplay, here's the thing. A lot of times we could hear that games is art. And what is art anyway? It is an expression. In this case, form of an expression is driving and walking. I can't convince you to like this type of game. If you like only AAA shooters or action games or RPGs, whatever, then I or anyone else can't force you to like Cloudpunk. For me personally, the gameplay, even without the story, was a pleasant experience. I wanted to play something relaxing for a change. Of course, it could have been better. It could have been deeper, with more mechanics, but I liked the way it is now. You do not buy this game strictly for gameplay. It is all about the story. As far as it gets, Nivala is one of the most hostile and harsh cyberpunk piece of a game to the line with no violence. I hardly recommend you to play this game for all who like cyberpunk and noir, who like nice storytelling and relaxing gameplay. For all others, well, also give it a chance. I almost completely positive you won't regret it. And yeah, by the way, if you like the base game, you need to buy the DLC, City of Ghosts. It is a direct continuation of the story with additional upgrades, such as graphical improvements and new soundtracks.